We quickly realized that LinkedIn is the place to be, except that what we actually did was spamming people, to be perfectly honest. It was absolute madness.
I never thought I was going to be a social media person until I started to use social media to actually create social relationships. And then I was like, oh, this is what it is.
What I'm doing right now is literally like transforming myself into content creator to my absolute cringe. And, like I never wanted to be that. I never wanted to do it. But I'm in shock how much better it is to build relationships like this, how many opportunities appear,
And honestly, there's like an authenticity piece to it. Like our audience isn't huge, but what we have is just like a really cool community of people that like we're actually able to like build relationships with. And that's been just so cool.
Let it be our goal, so nobody ever confuses us with AI. If we achieve that, we are in the top 1%, I think, because look at LinkedIn, and you will have hard time differentiating what is AI and what is not. And it's going to get only harder to do. So,
Hey guys, Adam here, one half of the Couplepreneur podcast, and I'm so excited to jump into this conversation with my good friend, Filip Łysikowski. We had a wonderful conversation about LinkedIn, about becoming creators, about sales and marketing. And honestly, Filip is just a really great guy, and I can't wait for you to enjoy this conversation. So without further ado, my conversation with Filip.
So as we kind of dive into this conversation, one of my favorite things is just to give you an opportunity to kind of share your journey, also to educate me a bit more about, how you got to where you are, what are the things that are important to you, and kind of what your hopes, dreams, aspirations, goals, all of that is, and just kind of give you some space to just share who is Filip.
Yeah, absolutely. Filip is a Polish guy living in Latvia in the Baltic region. And I've been in sales for 15 years now, I think. I started in retail selling printers. I went to banks. I went to B2B SaaS. I sold for e-commerce. I had my own e-commerce brand. I think when it comes to online sales, I've done almost all of it. But my greatest joy has always been sales and other people. So making connections, making deals, negotiations. Oh, absolutely love it. Something that people usually hate is my absolute pride and joy is negotiating, contracts and so on. I think I've signed more than $2 million in deals by this point. My clients got like over 100 million from online sales, e-commerce, B2B SaaS. And these days I'm transitioning from being, as I said, purely sales into marketing and into content, because I figured out that better than selling other people's products, I'd rather sell myself, sort of. and I transitioned kind of naturally by being first a salesperson, then head of marketing. People started coming for advice, so I sort of transitioned into consulting. And I figured that I absolutely love it. Different products, different people, different ideas every single month and every single week. And I really, really enjoy diving into specifics of different businesses. And now I'm helping with sales strategy, starting from sales strategy all the way to actually closing deals and negotiations and sales, working with founders, usually SMBs, small and medium businesses. I have experience selling to corporates, but I escaped corporate world myself, and I do not want to go back there ever again if I can. So yeah, that's me. I'm very red and very salesy. That's me.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Well, and that was one of the things that kind of drew me to some of your content in the beginning, was that it was very generous in terms of offering insights and your experience through education, and I found that to be really valuable. So how have you? I don't know, how do you utilize LinkedIn is kind of where we met. And so I'm just kind of curious, like, how do you use LinkedIn for like educating, for connecting? You say you like building out those relationships. Just kind of curious.
Well, I've been on LinkedIn for, I think, like 8 years now. Because when I started B2B sales, we quickly realized that LinkedIn is the place to be. We, of course, did everything. We did cold calling, cold emails, but LinkedIn became the thing, except that what we actually did was spamming people, to be perfectly honest. We just built lists and we sent, we have this, do you want to buy this? We have this, do you want to buy this? Without any thought behind it. We did the same over emails. I destroyed our domains because even messages from emails from our clients went to spam because we were using it for spamming others. It was absolute madness. And over the years, I realized LinkedIn grew. Like it used to be only very professional network. They even advertised themselves. I don't know, the slogan is still there, the professional social media, but it was stuck up a little bit, like everyone was very official. I remember one message I received as a reply to my cold outreach, and I was polite. I wasn't shilling anything. I was just saying that we are working in this industry and we're working with companies like yours. Maybe you're interested. And a person replied to me, What are you doing here? This is my personal private profile. I'm like, it's a professional network. It's not like Tinder, Uh-huh. But with time, I noticed that it changes. And the content creators and people, founders who are creating content and who are posting, not even great content, just posting anything, they have massive advantage. So I started doing it myself with huge push from my partner and my couplepreneur, because I think I may be good in sales, but self-promotion and putting myself out there has never been my strong suit, and I've never had confidence to do it. So it took me a lot to actually start doing that. But I transitioned into doing this because I still am a salesperson and I still like to build relationship by texting people, not just sitting there and waiting for everyone to come to me. I am a realist and I know that it rarely happens. And I want to be out there. And if you're not offering something to people who are exactly like you, because then you attract people very well, but you're working, I worked a lot with e-commerce businesses, enterprises. You can work with construction company recently or energy company. They are not on LinkedIn. They are not going to interact with your post and comment, but they are still there. And you posting content, you doing stuff makes it so much easier to reach out to them. So yeah, I got there from being a spammer to being a creator, and now I see the sort of the fruit of my labor.
Yeah, and that fruit probably builds over time. And I remember when we first started posting and you get, 1 like, maybe, 2 likes, something like that. And not that those necessarily, like those vanity metrics matter, but it does feel like you're just like, what am I doing? And like you're trying to like figure out your own self. And how was that journey then going from, I guess, getting that push from your partner to then kind of publishing and posting for the first couple times?
Funny enough, my partner was posting for me the first couple times.
Hey, there we go.
I was like, yeah. So I made content and I was like, I cannot do this. I just, you think if you think it's good, just press schedule, press post, and she thank goodness did. And I said, oh, I get likes, I get interactions, people, that's happening. And I was like, thank you. And then it became so much easier,
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned those vanity metrics. That is something that is I'm very torn about, but the truth is that those vanity metrics matter a lot. In discussions, in outreach, in anything. We make such quick judgments about people and about whether it's worth listening to them or not. We rarely look at the content that is actually written. We look, a lot of likes, I should probably read it, right? Oh, a lot of followers, I should probably reply to this person. It's absolutely crazy, but those metrics matter a lot. Even when we were running a podcast ourselves, I was proudly hosting, and we needed guests. The company had, it was a podcast we ran for a company under their brand. And they were well established in e-commerce brand and e-commerce company, but they didn't have a huge following. So we couldn't say like, get huge creators on board and say, we're going to expose you to millions of people, because we don't have them. But we have email lists with 150,000 people on it over the years, and that made it. If you tell people a big number, they're going to be, then I should probably trust you,
Yeah.
How much did you sell? I should probably trust you. You work with those brands. So even, it sucks because a lot of people just lies and manipulates the facts. But and I'm a salesperson that also always will tell you that you should do outreach first of all. You should talk with people, you should build those connections. But without the vanity numbers, it is so much harder. It is so much harder without vanity numbers.
Well, and that's where we're at right now. We have, relatively small following. But even within that, when you go into the depth of the relationships and you actually like build out like true connections, it's incredible what opportunity can kind of come to you and like you can actually accomplish. But when you have those posts that do pop off a little bit, or as your follower count starts to grow, I've had some potential clients be like, wait, okay, so you're helping me grow my LinkedIn, but like your LinkedIn isn't super high. So I don't know, it's just kind of one of those where you try and figure out how can you get beyond those metrics, and then also use them to support yourself as you're trying to like build out your systems.
Don't you think that this is exactly what you're doing, that you're getting beyond those metrics by the fact how you do things and who you're doing them with, like the relationship you're building and the quality. So I worked with my partner's agency as well, and also doing social media without huge following, but the quality of the work and especially the trust in the person, because sales is about trust, right? We all know that sales is purely about trust, and sometimes you build this trust with vanity numbers and it works. You'll often see other ghostwriters and creators having content that is 4 times worse than yours. And you're going to be like, how do they get all those clients? I could do it 3 times better, right? But because of those vanity numbers, it worked for them. Good for you. But you're going to get other clients who value your relationships with you, who value your quality of your podcast videos, content that you're posting out, or even connecting with you over couplepreneurship as your unique selling point, right? They connect the relationship and feel connected to you, and that makes the sale. So as you say, it's you can go about it in many different. You can go about sales in many different ways, and it's always difficult to start and feeling this imposter syndrome, perhaps, But I've been selling stuff that has been too expensive, too unknown, and too garbage, to be honest, to be sold. And I still didn't ever feel like I was pushing onto somebody any product that they didn't want, didn't need, or if they didn't value me, didn't value the product, I was like, hey, maybe it's not for you. If you don't trust me, if you don't trust this product, don't buy it. Same with personal brand. If you don't trust in me that I can help you, don't go to the million likes engagement group guru that is probably going to do the,
Well, and I think that's what I have found so much more enjoyable about this process is I never thought I was going to be a social media person until I started to use social media to actually create social relationships. And then I was like, oh, this is what it is. It's not just a megaphone to like shout into the void, but actually as a place to communicate and connect. And one of the things that you had mentioned stuck out with me was kind of like talking to your, customer like as quick as you can in terms of like outreach. So one of the things that I like about the things that you've been sharing is that idea of like as quick as you can, getting in there, figuring out what their pain points are, like what are the challenges they're actually trying to like solve. And then do you then actually kind of work backwards to the product side of things? Or, I mean, I know you're mainly focused on the sales side, but how do you think about like that actual customer engagement, client engagement, or I don't know, just also building relationships to figure out where you fit into it?
I guess it all depends on the process, that part of the process, sales process or offer development process that you're in. So when you're talking to your customer or prospect or outreach of any sort, first question is what kind of outreach, what kind of goal do you have? Because if you're just, literally yesterday or the day before, I was talking with a potential client of mine who had an idea of doing outreach to a specific group in a specific ICP, they've had it all figured out and had a specific offer, and like just needed to know from me the practical information. How do I find the right leads? What is the thing that I send to them, and how do I build those relationships, right? But when I started looking through the plan and the offer, I started questioning, how do you know that this offer is needed, that it's validated enough so the target market wants it? So the outreach that should be done first of all is the validation outreach. So first you have to talk with people, validate the product, ask them about their problems. So it's a different type of outreach that can work completely differently. So I guess I don't know if I understood your question correctly, but basically I you never think about outreach as an isolated thing, the same as you would think about marketing and as part of sales, which is, you cannot be divided in any part. Outreach is not a separate from creating content because it helps. It's not different from the offer because, you know, it basically defines how the outreach should look like. It really... Was that like, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, actually, sure. So you might have just like changed the way that I think about outreach completely right now. And I just love that. So you had mentioned validation outreach, thinking about that as a separate outreach versus a sales outreach. And in my mind, you know, I've always just been like, you know, you do your warm outreach, whatever associated with, you know, either the content you're creating or like the product that you're selling. But I think if you can mentally separate out that validation, it's less of like, people can sense that it's less of a sales and it's more of just, hey, no, I'm trying to like build something, or I really want to position this so that it's actually going to provide maximum value for you. Like, let's just have a conversation.
Yeah.
And so if I think, you know, ooh, that's cool.
But you know, like I really believe that you have to separate all kinds of outreach. And I think one of the problems that I notice when I go to LinkedIn, for example, is that everyone has their own niche, because you have to choose a niche, right? And their own product and their own offer and their own unique selling proposition. And they all shill it as the thing that's going to change your business and your life. So one guy is going to be a cold email guy, and he's going to tell you, this is the script, this is how to do it, and you know, this is the only way. Another person will tell you, oh, building relationships, sending. And the truth is, and you only can figure it out if you look at varied list of businesses and offers as you possibly can. So when we talk about cold outreach, there is, you know, sending 20 messages per day to manually written and researched, connected over comments that we did together and building relationship. That's cold outreach. And there's 10,000 emails per day across 300 domains. And that's also cold outreach, right? So putting it all in one basket is very conflicting and confusing. And I really... Maybe one day, if you see me one day on LinkedIn and I'm shilling one thing as the answer, I just probably figured out this is my audience and it makes financial sense to me, and sorry, I'm going to do it. But as long as I'm working as a consultant to many different businesses, I will feel very strongly about the fact that the way you should get clients, the way you should do outreach depends on you and your business. I talked with a company that offers products or services for shipping industry, you know, massive container ships. They are on LinkedIn. As every other B2B business, they're also on LinkedIn. But if they try, you know, sending spam to completely unqualified list of leads, that's not going to give them anything. They have literally 500 potential clients in the whole world.
Right.
So building a relationship, right, is much more sense. And then, sorry, because I think I'm on the flow, and if I start rambling, I just don't stop. But forgive me. You can cut me off.
Go for it, man. I love it. Let's do this.
Just one more thing is that the question that very often appears, and I had a speech on a conference last week or 2 weeks ago, and I was doing a speech about what to say to people when you reach out to them on LinkedIn or over cold email. And the question is always, do I just push my offer, or do I try to, you know, like, oh, we are doing just research, for example. So if you're doing research, do research. But if you're trying to sell someone and then you want to do research or get their expertise and then reverse pitch them, absolute nightmare. I was on the receiving end of such offers, and it's awful. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes if you have a great offer and very qualified, pre-qualified leads, just offering the amazing thing that you have is fine. But if you're offering a commodity, essentially, then building those relationships is the thing that's going to sell it. So all I'm trying to say, there is no one answer. I'm really sorry.
No. But understanding the nuance, or at least understanding that there is nuance, is a big part of that. Because then you can start to go. Yeah, I love it. Well, and you had actually called yourself a content creator, kind of changing tack here a little bit. So you'd call yourself a content creator, and I know some people have steered clear of that title, but you're embracing it. So tell me, like, what do you mean by content creator, especially on LinkedIn, in what is, quote unquote, the professional platform? So like,
Yeah,
how does that feel?
I hated that term. Oh my goodness, I was fighting against it. And the funny thing is that when I was hosting a podcast, it was for e-commerce platform in content in creative economy. So for content creators, and I was interviewing purely content creators, and I was like, yeah, the best way for us to promote it is for me to become a content creator, and I really didn't want to. But my partner actually was the one that I think helped me live with it, and she told me like, don't you enjoy it? Don't you enjoy being in front of the camera? Don't you enjoy doing those designs and fiddling with it and writing? I really love writing. So there are people who do not embrace it and they treat it as means to an end, essentially, right? And that's totally fine. I think I started embracing the term because I enjoyed the process, and when I started enjoying the process, it didn't sound like a bad label anymore. But but I do think that maybe some people should steer clear of it, just for the sake of their own, so they feel good with themselves. You know what I mean? Like, like people sometimes don't want to be called influencers, even though they are.
Yeah.
That's fine. Don't call yourself influencer. Own your own terminology and be whatever you want to be. I embrace it because I enjoy the process, and I think it's a healthy thing to do, to embrace what you're doing.
What you're actually doing, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned your partner a couple times, and this is the Couplepreneur podcast. So I really appreciate that you're coming on and you're willing to share about your relationship and how that is supporting the work that you're doing. But yeah, I don't know if you want to give a shout out to your partner. Like, what are some things that you love about how they, impact what you're doing, and like maybe the work that's being done behind the scenes, and how you think about being in a relationship and in business at the same time?
You gave me such a question that I don't know if we're gonna even the night is gonna fall before I end talking, because it's a huge topic and it's a huge thing. And shout out to Ilza, my partner, who you asked me like, how did she help me? Changed my life, changed me essentially. She has such a complementary set of skills to mine, and such a completely different perspective on people, on business, or I always came with more transactional point of view, maybe more cynical point of view. She came with a more open and trusting and approach to people. And I think together we somehow taught each other different things, and it worked out very well. I approach people definitely differently, especially in terms of business, right? Like with more trust and more openness. She approaches people with more boundaries and more cautiousness as well, which is necessary. But like we actually, so quick background, we were working completely separate things, and then COVID hit. And we started a little side project on our own. We started making lap trays for working on your laptop, on your laps, with a soft cushion and magnets that you can reconnect different pillows. And we had great fun with this. It was a great COVID project. It was actually profitable. It was the first time we ourselves run Facebook ads, ourselves made a store. It was our whole e-commerce enterprise, and it was fantastic. It still is. We still have some stock left and actually selling it off on Etsy, just without any promotion. But we're using the actual product all the time because we needed that.
Nice.
And it was incredible collaboration. I think incredible learning of each other. We were already at that point in relationship for 6-7 years, I think. So it added a completely new dimension to the relationship. Then we went on to make a little agency together. It happened out of nowhere. We had recommended for making a branding for one company, then another one, then sales strategy and marketing strategy, and it started rolling. And we were suddenly in business together, and it we didn't never like decided that that's going to happen. Are you picking up someone drilling? I hope you're not picking up on the microphone someone drilling. Oh my God.
Oh no.
They never drill, and if they decide to drill right now when we record.
Right when we're recording.
Anyway,
no.
So we sort of converged. We went on social media together. We started to working together, and to be honest with you, it was amazing, but it also had issues. So we actually decided now to split. Not as a couple yet, but in terms of our business, no drama, nothing bad happened. But we just had different maybe idea of how the business that we want to build should look like, and what we want to do in this business, and how. And it's totally fine. We still basically work from the same place. We are, stay-at-homepreneurs, and she helps with everything that I do and vice versa, and it works great. But when it comes to running a business together, I think we realized that the main problem was that it overtook our personal life, and it became our life, and that was a worry. Because so we noticed, like, when we are spending time apart, one goes to a conference to give a speech, or for visit a family by themselves, and then we come back, their relationships is reinvigorated. We talk about the things that happened, we share new things, and when it's living together, working together, everything is, then you go out on a date together, you want to spend, and then you just keep talking about business, and you still like business, you still like talking about it,
sure.
But there is something that starts to be missing. So I think we are still working together, we're still helping each other, but sort of having a separate thing that we can have input on, but not overtake each other. Very healthy. From this point, we've been together now for 10.5 years. We've been through all kinds of, COVID and changes and moving, and we are from 2 different countries. So I sort of moved to Latvia, to this country for her. So there's a lot of stuff that we went through, and it's always work in progress. But yeah, converging everything into one thing, I don't think I would like to do it again. How about you?
Well, so that's fascinating to hear you say that. So we did the converge everything together when we originally had our urban farm. And that was, very much like living, breathing the farm, living, breathing our work. Now it was a very pastoral life, so we're going out and we're weeding and, and planting seeds and harvesting and going to farmers market. So there was a lot of beauty to that. And we did find that we loved like working together on the same business. Now in this digital space, we're trying it again because we want to be in a vehicle that has a little bit more leverage. But we'll see how that goes if we find that it kind of is consuming us. But it's fascinating to hear the way that you, first off, had the awareness to say that this might not be the way that we want to be in a relationship and in business together. But what I think is what we're trying to like kind of understand for ourselves in terms of this idea of couplepreneurship is more couples in business in general together, like moving through the world, more of a lifestyle that you're designing to, whether you're working on separate businesses but like you're doing it together, in the same room, like you said, that kind of thing, and giving you that
you're on the same
flexibility,
path.
time and location.
They may be parallel, but you're on the same path, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely. But it's one thing that I think the biggest lesson that that I have learned through that process that improved our relationship because I am the type of person with strong opinions, and I don't know if you noticed, but I express them very strongly, and sometimes it's not great when you're in a relationship talking to your partner, and you have to be considerate more than opinionated. So what we figured out is that we have this mode now that when we start a conversation, I ask, do you want the Filip, the business Filip, or you want the boyfriend Filip? You want so we know what kind of conversation we want, because sometimes the other person just wants to share and doesn't need to have. Especially, I think men have a tendency to give solutions and to right, and like, I'm gonna fix this for you. I'm just gonna
right now. Let's just do it.
Yeah, let's just do it. Exactly. And it seems sometimes, I think, for her at least, it seems like, I just wanted to share, just leave me alone. I just, so having this understanding and this to give out each other space and be the right person for the other person that they need us to be. That was the biggest learning thing that I got. Yeah.
Well, and to call yourself out on that one and say, I have these two modes, like, and then if you clearly say I'm going to be in this mode, it kind of lets you then fully be present in that mode. Kind of like you talked about, like, you got to own your own brand, or like own your own labels, whatever that is. It's like, okay, this is business Philip, this is business Adam, and then this is like, partner Adam, or, I'm going to step in. That's awesome.
Yeah. You have to be self-aware. I think self-awareness is huge, and a lot of people are missing it a lot,
But if you can crack that nut in terms of being self-aware, it just makes your relationship so much better and stronger and like more enjoyable.
You communicate better.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're able to communicate better. If you're not self-aware, then I used to live with my dad, who was, my love for sales it stems from my dad, who used to be a fantastic salesperson, brilliant, but he also was a piece of manipulator, a massive manipulator, so me living for like 15 years in that environment taught me a lot about how people communicate and when it stems from. So, and he had zero self-awareness, or he had massive self-awareness that he didn't want to admit to. But it taught me like how important it is to call yourself out and approach other people with honesty about yourself. I think it's really crucial. Business or personal life, it doesn't really matter. Actually, I usually start I start sales meetings or sales conversations usually by making some jokes at my own expense. I find that it builds a relationship very well, and it shows the other person that I don't treat myself too seriously. And even like even if my joke doesn't land, or like, the person is like, we don't, sometimes there's not the same frequency, right? It happens. But you will immediately have this understanding and sort of being self-aware enough to see, okay, we are clicking, we're not clicking, this is a business type of relationship, this is a business conversation. And sometimes the other person opens up immediately and the conversation goes into jokes and personal stuff, and it was like, wow, what a fantastic thing, and we're just talking about this product or whatever. So just not being too into yourself. It's so freeing.
Yeah. What do they say? Like, don't take life too seriously. You'll never get out alive, kind of a thing. It's just like
yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Very cool. So as we're kind of starting to maybe wrap up this conversation, one of the things that I really wanted to ask you was, if someone was interested in either being a content creator, I think with the business lens, or interested in just like getting onto a platform like LinkedIn, or just kind of getting over that fear or cringe of like putting yourself out there that first time, like, what would be some advice that you have for them? Because I think there's that piece there of helping that initial nudge to kind of just do it. So what kind of advice would you have?
You know what's interesting? I don't know if it's about the initial nudge to do it. And I honestly think that this nudge doesn't matter. I think it's all about if you're going to stick with it. So I had because I'm the type of person that has nudges for all kinds of stuff all the time. And I'm trying different things. I've done businesses, side projects, platforms, content. It's because it's always easy at the beginning. Even if it's not easy, and you're going to find some little motivation to start, because I want to have a business, so I'm going to start posting on LinkedIn. Because I want to do this, I'm going to start posting on something else. But motivation doesn't last. And the most difficult part is to actually stick with it. So whether it's about starting or it's about sticking with it, you need to have a why of sorts. You need a win, you need a goal, you need something to support this endeavor, whatever it might be. So when it comes to LinkedIn specifically, and it comes to business type of LinkedIn, I have worked with and talked with so many people that had no problem posting on LinkedIn. At first every day, then every couple days, then a bit less, but it doesn't really work. 2 months later, they're off. So often it happens. So because there is nothing on top of it. There is just some content without a goal and offer. And then you cannot really expect anything to be built on top. So looking at you, Adam, like, you don't just make content. You make podcast like this one, build a relationship with me and with dozens of other people that can potentially be your client, can recommend you, can, the opportunities that you have mentioned that appear, they don't appear out of nowhere. And a lot of people have a problem with reaching out just to do something. Oh, but why am I going to do a podcast like you and I'm not getting paid for this? I need money. So, making a post takes me only 5 minutes, but making podcast takes me a few hours. So that's, where is the... And the people that say that at the same time, they are not willing to do outreach and talk with clients and sell, because that is the shortest path to actually get clients. Just text people and try to sell or offer them what you have and solve their problem. But people, but I don't want to be salesy. No, I just want to post content so people come to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm really sorry to say, but I think that usually we don't do enough. Whether we don't post often enough, or the quality is not enough, or it's not long enough. I really like what one content creator said to me when I interviewed him. And it was a YouTuber, photographer, hugely successful guy, millions of subscribers on YouTube. And he told me, you need to give it a go around the sun. Whatever you do, you need to have one go around the sun, because if you don't expect anything. And I really, really believe in this. You don't have to make New Year's resolutions; they rarely work. But just sticking with it. It's the same with posting, and it's the same with outreach. Had a conversation. I sent 100 messages, and I got no replies. 100 per day? No, in total. You should be sending 100 per day. It's no. Unfortunately, we underestimate the work that we have to put into something to make it work. So. See how I'm rambling? Have you noticed that you asked me one question? That's
okay. I was going to actually jump onto that. And here we are trying to wrap it up. And that just gets me all fired up to say, I think that's so good, though, to recognize how much work it takes to put into something. Because when you're not seeing the results, it's just it's okay. That's because you haven't done enough of the reps. That's okay. Just keep putting in the reps. And then you eventually get there.
Can I give you and listeners an example of a friend of mine who I worked with? How he got to work with Google. I think, people love those big names. So I can tell you that I've signed hundreds of clients, but would you like to work with Google? Here's what he did. He was posting on social media every single day. He was making collages. He was a designer. I work with a lot of designers, and they have hard time getting work. Many of them do productized service. We are supposed to talk about productized service, by the way. Oh, yeah. Many of them do the productized services because of a couple guys that went massive, and now having a monthly subscription for unlimited design is like a huge thing. So everyone wants to do it, and they still don't get clients. And here was this guy who was just posting collages online that took him, I think, half an hour later, maybe a bit less, to do every single day for, I think, couple years with almost no results. And suddenly it exploded. He had Google, he had Samsung, maybe not Samsung, whatever else, but multiple clients just because of the grit and doing it over and over and over again. And then it happened. But if you're expecting something short term, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. But I think that's great. Having that mindset. Maggie and I have decided that we're going to be on, and pick your platform, whatever it is that you want to do. In our case, it was LinkedIn, but we've decided that we're going to be on LinkedIn for 5 years. So every decision we make is on a time horizon of 5 years. And our relationship to the platform might change throughout that 5 years, but just having putting that out there as a line in the sand, we're not expecting results this year. We're not even necessarily expecting results next year. As long as we can continue to do the work and we love the work and get a chance to have really cool conversations like what we're having here, then that's good enough for us. That's fun.
That's really, I'm impressed. 5-year plan. I don't think I've ever had a 2-year plan. Not to mention.
Well, I don't know about
5-year plan.
I don't know about. Plan
I did have 1 year.
So
plan.
much as. You had a 1 year plan
and commitment. I've never. Okay, except for my partner, I've never made a commitment that I knew wanted to last longer than that. To be honest, so
yeah,
that's big.
It. Okay. Now, we were going to talk about productized services, and in fact, I do want to bring that back. So we're gonna
Okay,
I don't know,
okay.
snip this in somewhere around there. And it's like, okay, so Philip, the one I guess I had heard another content creator on LinkedIn talk about how you blew up on this one specific video or went viral, right? Did you have a video that on productized services that got like 1.5 million views
Oh,
or
that was
something?
the one. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think it did
Yeah.
go viral. Yeah. Okay.
Is that which again, it's like what does that mean? You know, all those, but that's cool. Like, I mean, that first off, 1.5 million people seeing your face. Like, how wild is that? Right?
Yes.
Or just like listening to your voice or interacting with your ideas. Like, that's just
That is
okay.
a brilliant example of the vanity number that we used to talk about, that we talked about before. Like it didn't matter. There was no extra business out of this, except that I'm able to have conversations about it with other
Yeah.
people on LinkedIn, and that is fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, so it's a vanity
Okay.
number that doesn't work directly, but indirectly.
So like, let's roll that back a second though to think it is a vanity metric, but like let's put faces to that 1.5 million people. I just think that itself blows the mind. I mean, yeah, it's a
Okay.
vanity metric, but 1.5 million people just like even interacting with you in any sort of way. I don't know. It's kind of humbling that we
It's
have
basically the whole country that
ability.
I'm in right now. Latvia has
Yeah.
like 1.8 million people, so the whole country saw me. Yes.
That's just wild. Yeah, and so yeah, whether business comes from it, whether, all of our dreams, fall from the sky. I just think that's really cool. And I always like, even when I get a post that has, 1,000 people that interact with it or 1,000 impressions, I still just like take a second and say, like, that's 1,000 people. That's a lot of people that are seeing our stuff. I know. I just sometimes we get so caught up on the big numbers that we lose the humanity behind those numbers.
That's true. Thank you for pointing that out. I never really thought about it that way. See, I'm like very analytical business wise. Like, what did I get out of this? How does it convert? And you're actually talking to me in human terms. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's the only way that I can, come to terms with my low vanity numbers. No, but in all seriousness, there, like, so that video itself, because I went and watched the video, I was like, okay, this is the viral one. I want to see what it was that Philip had to say. But you had talked about productized services and how a lot of times we use the term productized service when really it's just a service. Like, but we put it in this like slight silicone, plastic wrapper of
Yeah.
quote unquote product. So maybe because we're trying to launch a productized service, and so now I'm just asking Philip, the subject matter expert and salesperson.
I made one
extraordinaire.
video on the topic. I'm a subject matter expert. Love it.
That's
how
what
social
happens,
media works.
That's right. But yeah, what's your take
Yeah.
on productized service? What is it? And then what is it not? And then how can you actually create one or use one or yeah,
May
just
I
kinda
ask
curious.
you about your productized service that you're planning to launch? So you can talk about on a practical example.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we are trying to do is we're launching what we call the Personal Brand Accelerator, which is your like kind of building out the foundation of your LinkedIn presence. And so it starts with profile optimization and kind of understanding your offer and how you want to position yourself, who your core audience is. And then at that point, we take you through a roadmap of content it's the same roadmap for everybody, but it's unique, obviously, to you and your stories and your expertise. And at the end of that roadmap, which at this point is 30 days. So at the end of that 30 days, you have a profile that's going to support, someone hitting your profile and understanding who you are, how you help. And then the content that lays the foundation to showcase your personality as well as your subject matter expertise and, client results. And so for us, what we're trying to do is each day is exactly the same so that we can iterate through the roadmap, and each person that goes through the roadmap makes the roadmap better because we can continue to tweak templates and positioning and, all those sorts of things. But that's what we're trying to do.
So using that perfect example, I would say two scenarios, right? On one hand, you have the templates. You have AI prompts with examples. You have, let's say, design templates for banners and whatnot, or about section templates. So when someone comes and buys it, the final delivery that you do is 90% standardized, 10% custom to the responses of the person, to your knowledge and your own input and creativity that you put into it to make it perfect, right? That's productized service. And on the other hand, you have someone who would do exactly the same thing, but they would start from scratch. They didn't have any templates, any prompts, almost nothing. They took a look at a person and may have a workshop with them for a couple hours and then figure out their bio and their content plan. And then, from starting from zero. And then there is no productization. So what productization is having a repeatable process how something is produced, like any other product, right? You have an assembly line essentially, and it goes through that production line and it goes on it. And there are some little tweaks and quality control and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the final result is similar and the process is mostly hands-off because you can, take... and the example that I have given, I believe, in my video, and I give it a lot, is design services. So if you have a productized service of SaaS businesses UI design, right? User interface for apps, for web applications. Then there are existing frameworks that you can use, and depending on each individual business, you adjust menus and you adjust charts and you adjust sections, and within a day you have a full UI. If you're building it from scratch for every single client, there is no productization there at all. Or if you're so the design services very often offer every kind of design, from UI to landing page design to making carousels for LinkedIn. But everyone is different. Everything is different. So there is no productization whatsoever. The only productization is the fixed price of it. And that's just being fixed price. There is no productization. So yeah, that's the big difference for me.
I love it. And that's something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, because the reason that I like the productization is because I want to, like I said, be able to iterate on the process in order to make the final result better. And I guess you can do that by just getting better yourself as an artist. But I was like, man, I want there to be some sort of structured way in which we can create a flywheel effect where each person that goes through the personal brand accelerator improves the personal brand accelerator, because we're able to take information, what worked, what didn't, feedback, just where were the friction points, and then make that whole process better. So that way we can help as many people as we can at scale, and that scale being obviously limited by the fact that it's a service-based business. It's a done for you process. Now, ultimately we could productize it truly and turn it into just like a do-it-yourself kind of deal. Yeah. And that's probably something we'll do down the line if we want to do like a downsell or something like that. But in the beginning, as we're trying to refine the product, I was like, man, I really, because we've done some, now here I'm doing the rambling. We've done some bespoke, ghostwriting, where basically we just sit down with a client, we have a conversation, we try and find pieces of content within the conversation. And even there, I think we could have brought more forethought, and we've started to do that, where you actually here are the pieces that we want to create, and then we ask questions related to those pieces. And so we've done the whole spectrum as we've tried to learn this whole new industry. But for me, I like the idea of being able to continue to iterate and improve. And for me, that the only way we can do that is if we are able to do some sort of replicable process over time. So yeah.
Cool. Process has to improve, but it has to be replicable. Exactly.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just doing this something new every single time, and you miss that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Okay. Well, Filip, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and have a conversation with me, to share your personality, your expertise, and kind of your story and journey, because I think that's what drew me to the work that you've been doing on social media, on LinkedIn, is that you have there's a person there. I can see who you are and get a taste of your personality, just that you're an authentic person. So
same. It goes both ways. Thank you so much, Adam. And I think let it be our goal, so nobody ever confuses us with AI. If we achieve that, we are in the top 1%, I think. Because look at LinkedIn, and you will have a hard time differentiating what is AI and what is not, and it's going to get only harder to do. So
yeah, because as AI gets better, the thing I always say is, I don't care necessarily if you write with AI, but write something that AI could not write, you know? Like that's the heuristic. And so if you can say something that AI could not say, which is typically your own experiences, your own, you know, feelings and stories, that's really where it comes down. So
absolutely.
Cool, man.
Thank you so much, Adam.
All right. Thanks, Philip. Take care.
Thank you. And we're off.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Filip Łysikowski. It was an absolute blast to record, and I really hope you got to take something away from this conversation. Now I get to ask you if you would please do me this one small favor. Rate and review this podcast wherever it is that you're listening, or hit us up on YouTube, become a subscriber, maybe throw in a comment. Let us know who you are and what you took away from this episode, or what you'd like to hear more of in the Couplepreneur podcast. We really want this to become a resource, not only for ourselves to make connections and to learn, but also for you listeners to be able to experience and learn whatever it is that you want to learn from us. And so, yeah, if you could, like I said, just like and subscribe. It really does help out other people finding this episode. And then throw a comment in there. Let us know what it is that you're interested in learning about, because that's something that I'm sure we would be interested in learning about along with you. So thank you so much for listening, and I really appreciate it. We'll see you next week.